Paramitha. My student number is 065.
My name is Alifia Kusumah and my student number is 053.
My name is Gusti Tama Suastini. My student number is 061.
My name is Andika Surya. My student number is 069.
We are from class C. We are students of the Bachelor of English, Faculty of Humanities, Udayana University.
This video is for the project of Intermediate Listening lesson assigned by Ms. Mulyana.
Now let's get started.
This is Channels Television's Breaking News.
Hello, my name is Dinda Paramitha. My student number is 065 and I'm here as the first reporter. Some scientists believe that climate could be the biggest irreversible driver for the displacement of millions of people by the end of this century. Therefore, I would like to report back on what I have witnessed and heard about climate change based on the news, Climate Crisis. Where Will It Be Too Hot to Live? By BBC News site. The report started with news where Spain was experiencing hot weather and schools in India were closed due to a wild spring. It was mentioned that the cause of the situation is climate change. It was mentioned that there is a new study trying to figure out the potential human consequences of a warming world. As the weather gets hotter, humans are also starting to see biological risks, such as decreased brain function, the body being unable to keep itself cool because it cannot evaporate sweat, and then poor pregnancy outcomes, and decreased labor performance. For many of the complex consequences of climate change, many people may be exposed to extreme levels of heat towards the end of the century, with 7 degrees of heat expected if the world sticks to current policies. The heat-exposed population will be 5 times as large, 20% of a future population of about 2 billion people. A significant proportion will live in India and Nigeria, where the population is still growing and the outcome is far from certain. The news also mentioned air conditioning as a result of this situation. The more people feel hot, the more air conditioners are bought, the more electricity is used, the faster fossil fuels are emitted, and the higher the temperature becomes. For the last information that I got from the news, there are already some people who are unable to protect themselves from the heat or who have to work outdoors. For example, people in Bangladesh and people in the countries of the south. The research then reminds us that cold political debates about what action we should take will have very real consequences for millions of people. Okay, the next report will be reported by Alifia.
As the second reporter, my student number is 220-154-1053. After you watch Dinda's report on how the world will be too hot to live in, I'm gonna talk about how the ice melts because of climate change and how it will affect us all. In this chance, the climate news that I'm gonna talk about is climate change as the reason for the Arctic to be ice-free by the 2030s. The study says that the Arctic could be free of sea ice during the month of September, and it is a decade earlier than previous prediction. They also said that the scientists report that the Arctic sea ice may completely melt by 2030, and it is earlier than expected. There are several impacts that could affect us all. So, it is important to think about the Arctic as the immune system for the planet Earth. If the Arctic sea ice melts, it makes all of our problems get much worse and much faster. While it has been heating up there 4 times faster, it also has rained at the highest peak in Greenland for the first time. Last year, because a hurricane managed to push warm air up there, it made this late melting pattern. By looking at the numbers in the satellite, it looks like it's losing 12 until 13% of sea ice per decade in September. There will be a more dramatic and significant difference by 10 years from what has been expected. The reason it happens so quickly is because it is the combination of unchecked planet cooking and pollution that has been built up all these years. So it is heating up faster and it affects more of the refractive ice going away. Is there a way to prevent it from happening? Yes. One important thing humans can do is to stop the rate of the enormous pollution emission right now. But of course, it is a hard thing to do since it is almost impossible because it is too big of a challenge. Every tenth of a degree could be the difference between the landscape we grew up, living and dying. By what it shows, we are definitely behind the curve. That's why we need to be doing more for the environment and the Arctic sea ice. Now, let's move to the third reporter, Andika.
Hi, this is Andika Surya. My student number is 069 and I'm here as the third reporter. The UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has held a major report on climate change as a survival guide for humanity. Climate scientists from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change said that clean energy and technology can be exploited to avoid the growing climate disaster. But they also warned a key global temperature goal will probably be missed. They say the world is expected to warm above 1.5 degrees Celsius by the early 2030s. Secretary General Antonio Guterres has been speaking at the launch of the IPCC report. He said that parties have to immediately hit the fast-forward button on their net zero deadlines to gain global net zero by 2050. Leaders of developed countries must commit to reaching net zero as close as possible to 2040, and this can be done. We asked our climate editor Justin Roller, who is in Interlaken, several questions about what makes this report important and different, and is it a sort of admission of defeat due to temperature rise of more than 1.5 degrees Celsius? Justin Roller said that this one is drawn together 8 years of work the scientists have been doing into a synthesis report. They state what is happening to the climate, what is likely to happen under different scenarios, and how urgent it is that we take action on this issue. Then they give it to politicians that are going to decide what policy measures are needed to address that problem. Justin Roller also said that they say if we make really deep cuts in carbon dioxide emissions and develop technologies that can suck carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, we can bring the atmosphere back to 1.5 degrees Celsius. And I think scientists here hope that the evidence they're presenting today will encourage the government to take deeper and more serious action. That is all the news that has been reported. Now, move to the fourth reporter, Tama, to talk about another melting of glaciers due to climate change.
Hi, my name is Gusti Agung Tama Suastini as the last reporter. My student number is 061. Due to the excessive climate change, we also experience another disadvantage. The last disadvantage of climate change that I'm gonna report right now is about melting of glaciers. Melting of glaciers is a concern due to climate change that is causing 40 glaciers worldwide to lose an average of more than 4.2 feet of ice in a year. One of the proofs is that the melting of the glaciers in the Alps is out of the chart, or I could say miserable. Additionally, little winter snow and summer heat waves exacerbated by the dark dust from the Sub-Saharan desert is stripped heat accelerators to record melt. The scientists' much hunt showing the devastating impact in January is much more obvious than seeing just a graph with rising temperature. For the first time, there is no snow that survived the summer melt season even at the very highest sites in Switzerland. Moved to another place still in the city, Montana's national park is in danger nowadays because it is warming at twice the global average, whereas 5 years ago, the park had lost 85% of its ice area. It is obviously dangerous for them and also for us. The glacier melt contributes to a record sea level rise. In lower Manhattan, scientists predict the waters could rise another foot by 2050. It can cause floods. Could you imagine how dangerous it would be if all of the glaciers melted one by one every year?